The Girl in the Cafe, Melrose. If you have a dog, you get 20 quick interactions with strangers every week. What's your dog's name? Nice dog. Have a nice walk. Bye. On a Sunday evening after ordering family takeout at a cafe, I sat down to wait. Another dog owner came in, ordered takeout, and the two dogs interacted. The conversation started. What's your dog's name? They seem to get along. How old is your dog? But since we had 15 minutes, the conversation spread down a range of pathways. Then the orders came up and we went our ways. ChatGPT imagines where each person later talks about it with their therapist.
Air signs. He came to me with a story that, on the surface, seemed too small for therapy, a 10-minute conversation in a taco shop. Yet he returned to it repeatedly, as one might touch a sore tooth, not from pain exactly, but from a persistent curiosity. He was 67, a biotech consultant in Los Angeles, with what he called early Parkinson's, usually not noticeable. He mentioned this early, almost casually, but I sensed it was not casual at all. Illness often enters the consulting room, disguised as a footnote. He also had a small dog, Ruckus, which figured prominently in his account. The dog, he explained, facilitated what he termed 30-second conversations with strangers, brief, ritualized exchanges with other dog owners. These encounters were predictable, contained, and I suspected safe. Then one evening, something broke the pattern. A young woman entered the taco shop with her own dog. What followed was not 30 seconds but 10 minutes, animated, he said, with an ease and intensity that surprised him. There was eye contact, shared interests, a mutual curiosity. She worked in design and technology, was learning AI, was writing a script about Los Angeles in 2040. He spoke of his own creative pursuits, parody videos, which he seemed both proud of and faintly self-conscious about. At one point, she asked to guess his zodiac sign. Libra, she said. He laughed, pleased. He raised his hand in a playful high-five gesture. She touched it, and he emphasized, held it for a few seconds. Then she remarked that she was an Aquarius, that they were both air signs, that they were compatible. He lingered on this moment. Not extravagantly, but carefully, as though it contained something he could not quite name. What did you feel? I asked. He paused. That something had opened, he said. Not just conversation, something else. He did not pursue it. His food was ready. He left with a polite remark, hoped to see you again, and only later wondered whether he might have offered more. A YouTube handle, perhaps, a small bridge into future contact. I didn't think of it until hours later, he said. This, he assured me, was not regret exactly. Yet he could not let the moment go. If I were 35, he said, this would have been the beginning of something. He described earlier encounters, standing in line, a chance remark, a decision not to let the moment pass, and how such beginnings had led to relationships, even love. And now? I asked. Now I recognize it, he said. But I don't act on it. We sat in silence. I found myself thinking about the peculiar cruelty of time, not that it removes our capacities, but that it preserves them while altering the conditions under which they may be expressed. He had not lost the ability to connect, to engage, to spark interest. On the contrary, the encounter demonstrated that these capacities remained intact, perhaps even sharpened. What had changed was the framework, a marriage, a life constructed over decades, a body beginning to signal its limits. There's a kind of ghost in it, he said finally. Like I recognize the shape of something that used to happen. Yes, I said. A ghost of a possible life. He nodded, but did not seem saddened, only thoughtful. I felt good though, he added. Like myself, not awkward, not diminished. This, I suggested, might be the more important revelation. Not the path not taken, but the self encountered along the way. Too often, patients come to me fearing that age or illness has rendered them less interesting, less desirable, less alive. Yet here was evidence to the contrary. He had entered a room, spoken with a stranger, and created a moment of genuine connection, unexpected, lively, even charged. The young woman's interest, her attention, her playful gesture, her lingering touch, was not imagined. Nor was it, I thought, primarily about attraction. It was about presence. He was, in that moment, fully there. As our session drew to a close, he mentioned, almost lightly, that if he saw her again, perhaps at the bakery next door, he might offer his YouTube channel. Just in case, he said. I did not challenge this. Practicalities seemed beside the point. After he left, I reflected on the encounter. It would be easy to frame it as a missed opportunity, or, conversely, as a harmless, pleasant exchange. But neither formulation satisfied me. What struck me was something more fundamental, the persistence of vitality in the face of time. The man had not come to therapy because he had lost something. He had come because he had discovered that he had not. The capacities for curiosity, play, and connection had endured. What remained was the task, never simple, of integrating these capacities into a life that had grown more complex, more bounded, more real. I thought again of his phrase, air signs. It seemed, in its way, apt. Something light, mobile, intangible had passed between them, difficult to grasp, impossible to hold, but unmistakably present. Such moments cannot be prolonged indefinitely. Nor perhaps should they be. Their function may be simply this, to remind us, however briefly, of the selves we have been, and the selves we still are. A few days later, I asked the Irv Yalom avatar to retell the story, but this time, from the woman's point of view. Air Signs Revisited. She came in on a Thursday afternoon, a few minutes early, carrying the faint restlessness of someone who wasn't entirely sure why she had made the appointment. Late 20s, she told me. Designer. Working increasingly with AI. I'm not in crisis, she said quickly, almost preemptively. It's just something happened, or maybe nothing happened, I can't quite tell. I have learned to listen carefully when a patient insists that nothing happened. It was small, she said. A taco place, I had my dog with me. I waited. There was this man, older, much older, maybe late 60s, he had a dog too, so we started talking like you do. She smiled briefly, as if acknowledging the familiar script. Dogs, I thought, often serve as intermediaries, safe conduits into contact that might otherwise feel too exposed. But it didn't stop, she continued. You know how those conversations usually go, 30 seconds, maybe a minute. This went on 10 minutes, maybe more. And that was unusual for you. Not just unusual, it felt different, like we skipped something. Skipped what? She paused. The part where you decide not to care. That interested me. She described the progression with some care. The dogs, the names, then work. Hers in design and technology, his in consulting, and the unexpected overlap around artificial intelligence. He told her about making parody videos. It should have been weird, she said. It wasn't. It was actually kind of great. Great how? He was just there, present, not trying to impress me, not awkward, just engaged. I noted the word. At one point, she went on, I asked if I could guess his zodiac sign. I don't even know why I did that. I don't usually do that. Why do you think you did? She considered. It was a way of crossing a line, maybe, but a safe one, like I could make it a joke. And when you guessed correctly. She smiled again, this time more slowly. He lit up, it was sweet. He made this little gesture, like a high five, and I touched his hand, and I just didn't pull away right away. She looked at me, as if checking whether this required explanation. What was that like for you? I asked. It felt natural, she said. Not sexual, not even really flirtatious, just connection, but also a little charged, like something was there. She used the same word he had, something. And then? I asked. Then it kept going. We talked about a script I'm working on, about LA, in the future. He mentioned a bakery nearby. I go there all the time. It was weird, like we were already in each other's orbit but hadn't met. She stopped, and for a moment we sat in silence. And how did it end? My food was ready, or his was, I don't remember exactly. One of us got called. He said, hope to see you again, and that was it. And since then. She exhaled. I keep thinking about it, not him exactly. I mean yes him, but not like that. It's more the feeling. The feeling. That it could have gone somewhere, or that it used to in other situations, but this time it didn't, and I didn't want it to really, but also. She hesitated. Also, I kind of did. This ambivalence is familiar territory. What do you imagine might have happened if it had gone somewhere? I asked. She laughed softly. That's the thing, I mean he's married, he's decades older, it's not a real scenario. Yet you're still thinking about it. Yes. We sat with that. I think, she said slowly, it's because it felt so easy, and that doesn't happen that often, not like that. Usually there's effort, or calculation, or you're wondering what the other person wants. With him, it was just happening. And that was appealing. Yeah, it was. I found myself wondering what she had brought into the room that made such an encounter possible. It is rarely one-sided. We create these moments together, though we often attribute them to the other person. What do you think he experienced? I asked. She considered this more seriously. I think he enjoyed it, she said. I think he was a little surprised, but also comfortable, like he knew how to be in that kind of moment. She paused. And I think he chose not to take it further. How do you feel about that? She tilted her head slightly, relieved and also a little disappointed. Both. Yay, both. There it was, the paradox we encounter so often, the desire for connection paired with the desire for containment. To have the moment, but not its consequences. I think, she said after a while, it reminded me of something. What? That these moments exist, that you can just meet someone and it works, even if nothing happens after. She looked at me more directly now. I guess I thought that kind of thing only led to something, or it didn't matter, but maybe it can just be what it is. I nodded. In my work, I often see patients struggle with their idea that meaning must be tied to outcome, that a connection is valuable only if it develops, that a beginning must lead somewhere to justify itself. Yet much of life, I have come to believe, consists of precisely these contained encounters, moments of genuine meeting that do not extend and do not need to. You're holding on to the feeling, I said, not because you lost something, but because you found something. She was quiet for a moment. Yes, she said finally. That sounds right. As the session drew to a close, she mentioned, almost casually, that she sometimes worked at a bakery near where the encounter had taken place. Maybe I'll see him again, she said. And if you do? She smiled. I don't know, maybe I'll ask about the videos. She stood, gathering her things, the restlessness that had accompanied her arrival now softened, if not entirely resolved. After she left, I found myself thinking about the man, whom I would never meet, and the brief intersection of two lives that had, for a moment, aligned. Neither had pursued it. Neither had needed to. And yet both had carried it forward. There are, I am reminded, many forms of connection. Not all of them demand continuation. Some serve simply to reveal, to each participant, their own capacity to meet another, fully, even briefly, in the present moment.